Another family in Gaza obliterated by an Israeli airstrike. Nearly 20 people from one family, 8 of them children, 4 of them women. Unrelenting misery, never-ending grief, in an area where civilians thought they were safe, but where the Israelis say Hamas fighters were operating. Palestinian doctors insist otherwise and say the large number of child victims is a tragically high price to pay. Hours before the strike, the Israeli military had ordered the area and others in Deir al-Balah and Khan Yunis to be evacuated, sparking mass fear and panic. The so-called safe zones in Gaza are now just 11% of the Strip. Across the Israeli border in southern Lebanon, there was more Israeli devastation, this time an apartment housing workers and a young Syrian family, including 2 toddlers. 10 people were killed, another 6 wounded. The official Israeli line is the adjacent warehouse was storing a munitions factory operated by the Lebanese HEZBOLLAH group. Not so, the owner told us. He says his business supplies construction material.
They've just killed innocent people and destroyed a civilian house and a business that's got nothing to do with the situation in this region.
As the owner's talking to reporters and villagers, more Israeli jets can be heard flying overhead, causing some alarm. Sorry. What is it? What is it? What is it? We're hearing that we're not sure what's going on, but there's certainly jets above us. This is really going to raise the tension once more, and they're asking us to leave now. Pictures from the Israeli military show a fairly substantial strike on the Lebanese house and business. All this as the world leaders urged restraint and talked up the possibility of a ceasefire deal. HEZBOLLAH released a glossy propaganda video appearing to show tunnels cut into rock and missiles being prepared, along with a voiceover from the group's leader vowing revenge against Israel. Exactly what the ceasefire talks are trying to prevent: retaliation by HEZBOLLAH and Iran for twin assassinations that they blame on Israel. But the most senior Hamas representative in Lebanon told us any deal was still way off, and he blamed the Israelis and the Americans.
Biden is just trying to give a positive impression, but the first round came with no improvements. The mediators told us the points we disagree on haven't been solved, and Netanyahu has added yet more conditions and made it even more complicated.
Israel keeps on saying that it's Hamas who is objecting to certain key things in the peace deal that's been drawn up, that it's Hamas who is adding conditions. Given that you're not at the talks, I mean, they seem to have a better grasp of what's going on, perhaps.
No one believes Netanyahu. Hamas accepted Biden's previous proposal and the UN Security Council decision, and yet in every case Netanyahu is refusing to agree and putting up obstacles.
There are 40,000 people dead now, more than 40,000 people dead in Gaza alone. Is it even possible to try to get a pause, at least in the fighting, to give people some respite?
Hamas has done everything to reach a deal to stop this war, but it's Israel who's carrying it on, who's insisting on committing crimes, and the Americans are supporting them whilst the world just watches it all. We don't want the war to stop only temporarily and on Israeli terms, so they take back their hostages and then just carry on committing massacres afterwards. We want a permanent ceasefire because that's what benefits our people most. And it's our people who are telling us not to accept a deal without a permanent ceasefire.
The Israeli foreign minister told his British and French counterparts that he expected his allies to take part in military action should the Islamic Republic and HEZBOLLAH attack them, as the leaders have promised. Israel insists it's Hamas who's refusing to sign a deal. Mediators are trying to find common ground before the talks resume towards the end of next week. The killing continues unabated in Gaza, with no certainty that a promise of a deal without substantial progress will be enough to stave off attacks, which could tip the region into a more widespread war. Alex Crawford, Sky News in Lebanon.